Hello and welcome to this case study in this section on introduction in this course, Excellence in Leadership and Leadership Development. So in this, let's take a look at a case study of building excellence in leadership. And this is a case study of uh, an employee focused on building true leadership excellence at an individual level, not positional authority, but earned leadership under pressure. So let's take a look at this case study of expert to leader when performance is no longer enough, right? So let's look at the context. What was the situation? So here was a high performer promoted too early, and in this case, name and face mask is, let's say, is Nikhil, 34 years old. He's a top performing operations manager in a fast growing manufacturing company and is known for speed, accuracy, and personal discipline. He was promoted to plant head with 120 people team after delivering record output in 2 years. So he had a great track record, and as a result, he was promoted as a plant head. But within 6 months, the troubles began in his new position. Employee attrition rises to 28%. Production quality defects increased by 17%. No small way. Middle managers stopped taking ownership. HR flags toxic work environment, and his boss gives him a warning saying, "You are driving results, but you are destroying the organization." And Nikhil is stunned, especially after being promoted. He says, "I'm working harder than ever. Why is everything falling apart? And why is everyone saying you are not doing well?" So that was the situation. So what was the real challenge, leadership challenge in this situation? So this was not a capability problem. It was a leadership identity crisis. Nikhil still behaved like a problem solver because of his past training and past success. But his new role required him to become a people developer, which he was not doing, a decision enabler, and a cultural carrier, which all the three were new roles for him. And what needs to know is the skills that you are promoted are not the skills that make you successful at the next level. And this is the realization that happened with him. Nikhil also did some research to understand why most new leaders fail in this at this stage. And he figured this out that the old performer habit, high performer habit, start destroying the leadership. And how do they do that? Because they say your success, your biggest failure, your enemy. So you start solving as an old performer, high performer, you solve problem personally. And when you go to a leadership position, that if you keep doing that, team stops thinking. As an old performer, you are in the habit of being a smartest in the room. And as a result of that, in a team situation, new situation, others feel unsafe. You keep doing that. You keep micromanaging details as an old high performer, and as a result of that, in the new team situation, in a new position, the trust with the team collapses. They say he does everything himself and he micromanages. Then, as an old high performer, you gave priority to speed over discussion to do the things first, and that breaks the alignment in the new leadership position with the team. And the last thing that he discovered was that you do feedback only during mistakes as a high performer. And as a result, the fear replaces ownership because every time you give feedback, they fear that something is wrong is going to happen. Now, what was happening was Nikhil was unknowingly leading through control instead of influence. So that's what he realized. Right. So Nikhil then adopted a five-step, leadership excellence transformation model. Now, what were the five critical shifts he did? Let's take a look at them. So, first shift was to shift from output control to outcome leadership. From output control to outcome leadership. So, instead of asking, his team people, his members, did you follow my instruction? He's learned to ask, do you fully own this result? And he redefined success as team accountability, not personal heroics. And the result was that managers stopped escalating every problem and the real ownership has started beginning. So that was the first shift he did from output control to outcome ownership, from output control to outcome ownership. Second shift, major shift he did as a part of this transformation was to move from authority to trust architecture, right? And here he realized that trust is not emotional. It is designed. It can be designed. And he introduced things like, clear leadership boundaries, uh, public delegation contracts, zero punishment zone for early mistakes. And within 8 weeks, can you believe that? Decision speed at middle level increases by 46%, and escalation requests drop sharply. So moving from authority to trust starts getting team to function more as a team. Then the third shift it did was to move from feedback as correction to feedback as development. Earlier, feedback was only when something broke, right? Now he practiced a weekly one-to-one development conversation where he talked about one strength to apply, starting with the strengths of people, to how to implement that. One risk to minimize, and that was again future oriented, not past. And one growth experiment. So instead of past, he started focusing on the future with one strength to use, one risk to minimize, and one growth experiment to do. And the effect was capability growth replaced fear based compliance, and talent retention stabilizes. The fourth thing he did was to move from being a pressure transmitter to a pressure absorber. Now, earlier, his behavior was whenever pressure he received, or whatever pressure he received from his superiors at headquarters, he passed it on directly to the shop floor. In his new behavior as a pressure absorber, he acted as a pressure filter. He absorbed urgency, translated into achievable sprints, and protected morale when maintaining peace. And the effect was the drop in burnouts happened and the sustainable performance return. So that was the fourth shift he did, right? And in the fifth shift he did was from instead of from being an example, he moved on to creating examples. Earlier, he used to say, "Watch how I do it." Now he says, "Let me spotlight who did it well." He institutionalized monthly leadership stories, who did well, peer recognition rituals, right? Recognizing peers, learning from failures openly. And the impact was that culture becomes self reinforcing. Leadership spreads horizontally because of the recognition, because of the leadership stories, because of, creating examples. So what was the final outcome? Roughly it took 12 months to see the final outcome. Let's take a look at the outcome that happened. Attrition dropped from 28% to 9%, one third, a very significant drop. Quality defects, which were high, reduced 42%. Internal promotions, which were rare, there are three new team leads that were promoted. Employee engagement moved up from low to high, and leadership bench, which was weak, became strong now. And his CEO started saying that you did not become a better manager, only you become a builder of leaders. So he moved from a boss to a builder, and the evolution of leadership started. So, what is the deepest leadership insight we can draw from this case? So, leadership excellence is not about only getting extraordinary results from extraordinary people. That's what Steve Jobs also said, to get extraordinary results from ordinary people, right? It's about also creating extraordinary people who generate these extraordinary results without you. So that's the deepest leadership insight I would say we can get from this case. So what is this leadership excellence capability model? And you can use this 5-level personal leadership mastery model. Starts with self mastery, when you control reactions, not people. Then you design trust with system of clear ownership. Then you develop capabilities, grow others deliberately, not by chance. Then you manage the pressure, right? Protect performance sustainability. You transmit only the kind of pressure that is needed. And then you engineer the culture, make leadership contagious. Everyone starts becoming leader in his own way, in his own sphere. So that's the model. So what's the final takeaway? Things that we can say. What are a few quotes that we can look at before moving on? So the moment you stop being the smartest problem solver in the room, you start becoming the strongest leader in the room. So one has to break away from being the smartest problem solver. Then only you can become the strongest leader in the room. Second, control creates compliance, trust creates commitment. So minimize control. You need to have control, but start building trust, and that creates commitment. And the final quote that you can remember is the leadership is not a position, it is a multiplication system. You start creating more leaders within your team, and that's where excellence in leadership and leadership development starts. So, what do we do in the next module? We get into the core of this course by taking a look at what is leadership, defining the leadership formally, in addition to what we have discussed so far, so that we have a common understanding. So, thank you so much for watching this introduction case study. I hope you are beginning to learn new things, beginning to enjoy, and I do look forward to see you again in the next lecture. Please feel free to message me if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer your questions, and do download the PDF file to take a look at anything that you need to.